fifth mantra twice. Nachamachthani bhutani pashyame yogamaishwaram bhuta bhrunnacha bhutasthaha mamatma bhuta bhavanaha. Nachamachthani bhutani pashyame yogamaishwaram bhuta bhrunnacha bhutasthaha mamatma bhuta bhavanaha. Nor do beings exist in me. Behold my divine yoga, bringing forth and supporting beings. Myself does not dwell in them. So here he is exactly contradicting himself. Nor do beings exist in me. In the previous mantra, he said beings exist in me. Now here he is saying they don't exist in me. So a contradiction to what he has said earlier. Now the best way to understand is imagine the example of the rope and the snake. And the rope is speaking. In the previous mantra, he says the snake lives in me. The snake has come out of me. The snake is dependent on me. I am not dependent on the snake. So rope is saying, snake has come out of me. I don't need the snake. Now here, he's saying, the fifth verse, no snake has come out of me, he's saying. The fourth verse is a snake has come out of me. This verse is saying that no snake has come out of me. Because you are seeing a snake, he is accommodating us in the fourth mantra. Now here he establishes ultimately the non-existence of the illusory snake. No world exists. No world has come out of me. No beings dwell in me. Which means what? The very existence of the beings is being questioned. The very existence of the world. Because you saw a snake, he said, snake came out of me. Yes. Snake needs me. I don't need the snake. The rope is talking. Brahman is saying, the beings, the world has come out of me. I am not dependent on the world. The whole world, the Prabhava and Pralaya comes, the whole creation and dissolution, the whole world comes to an end. It doesn't make a difference to me. Brahman is saying, that's the absolute reality. The Brahman is saying, I don't need you. You may need me. Why is he saying that? Because you see a world. And then he says, no snake has ever come out of me. So the snake never exists in me, he says. The absolute standpoint is talking, which is true. If you see there's a snake that has come out of me, it's your own illusion, isn't it? It's your own creation. Where did the snake ever come out of the rope? No snake has ever come out of the rope. So by saying no beings dwell in me, he's only saying that no snake has ever come out of me. He's just establishing the illusory nature. If at all you see a snake, it's only an illusion. The rope is a substratum. The rope is the reality. Behold my divine yoga. The divine yoga is between the union between the finite and the infinite. It's a divine union. What is divine in that? How the infinite and the finite exist. What is the relationship between Brahman and the world? That's a union, isn't it? The union we're talking about, the Brahman and the world. How is this union? What is this union? The union between the infinite and the finite. How is this union? The union is exactly like the union between the dream and the waker's mind. The only way to understand is through an example. The union between Brahman and the world is the union or the relationship between the waker's mind and the dream. What's the relationship between the waker's mind and the dream? First point, just as the waker's mind supports the entire dream, so also does Brahman support the entire world. It is a substratum. Without the substratum, there cannot be the world which exists on it. So the entire dream is supported by the waker's mind. It is the waker's mind that has projected the dream, isn't it? So the relationship between Brahman, the infinite and the finite, is it is a substratum. And you cannot understand the origin of the source being in the dream. You can't understand the source. Like a dreamer will never understand who projected the dream. Now, what we are trying to say is the Brahman is a substratum from which everything has emerged. But from the point of the dream, as a dreamer, you will not know where did the dream originate. When would you know? Only when you wake up. So even if I were to tell you that Brahman is a substratum, just like a dreamer cannot understand the source of the dream, you and I as a waker will not understand the source and the substratum, which is Brahman. Impossible to understand. When will you understand? Just like only when the dreamer wakes up. Only when the dreamer wakes up, he'll understand, my God, the whole experience of the dream was just my projection. It's my mind that played a trick with me, and I imagined it for a while. It was all real. It is just an illusory projection. But you realize that only when we wake up. Exactly the same way, until we wake up to the reality, we will not understand how everything in the world is supported by Brahman. In the third mantra, I said that. Third verse, he said, everything is supported by Brahman in the unmanifest form, but we don't see it. Why? We are carried away with the illusory world. Say, do we have the conviction? Do we have the wisdom to say, to look at any part of the world and say it is illusory? Any part. Tell me anything in the world that you can look at it and say it is, dismiss it as illusory. It's rather too demanding, isn't it? Huh? Yeah, but when you see the mirage, that guy is thirsty, is running behind the mirage. He doesn't say it's a mirage. It is a thirst, and it is that heat, it is that wanting to have water. He sees water there, it's an illusion, but he doesn't dismiss it as a mirage. Do you and I dismiss the happenings in the world as illusory and reject it? No. We are getting carried away with everything in the world. Just like a dreamer gets carried away by the happenings in the dream, not understanding that the dream is a mere projection of the mind. There is no pith and substance. There's no reality in the dream. He doesn't understand. He falls a prey to the happenings in the dream. And only when he comes out of the dream, there's a chance for him. He realizes that it's a projection. But yet, that the divine union is this. He says, it is the substratum. It has come from that. There is a connection, but you are not able to see the connection. If there's no connection, understandable. He says there's a connection. It has come from me. I am the substratum, but there's a limitation. Being confined, you don't know. Sorry? It is a non-apprehension, is ignorance. So it is the ignorance, is like saying the ignorance of the waker. He believes himself to be the dreamer. It's all the ignorance that plays a trick. So the antidote is knowledge, and knowledge, and knowledge, and knowledge. How much can you be pounded with this wisdom? Because it's like stain which has gone into the fabric. It's so deep into the fabric. You'll have to keep putting in so much effort. A point will come where the fabric will tear, but the color will not go. It's not go so deep rooted, you see. So you will have to put in effort constantly to get rid of the deep stain of ignorance, the vasanas, which is binding us, which is confining us. You're attached to the world. So to remove that bondage, you need this, the potency of this knowledge. Just to tell you, you're being carried away, you're getting carried away with the world. This is not the reality. Therefore, he says, beings do not exist in me. I also don't exist in them because it is illusory. How can I exist in them? Absolute standpoint. He's just dismissing it. Are you all following online? You hear, isn't it all clear? So dismiss all what happened so far as illusory. Huh? This is the reality. Okay? Yes, sir.
We said in the last class that finite exists in the finite exists in the infinite. So that's what we interpreted as the Brahman exists in all of us, but we don't exist in them. So now this was negates, right? How do we reconcile this?
If I understand the question, what Ramji is asking, in the previous verse we said, the finite doesn't exist in the infinite exists in the finite. Right. And this verse, what is he saying?
He's saying that I don't exist in the weak. Yes, he's saying that the infinite is not existing in the finite. It's
like the rope is saying, I don't exist in the snake.
Right.
Why is the rope saying, I don't exist in the snake?
But there is no snake.
Full stop. Because there is no snake only. First, in the previous verse, he accommodated us because you are seeing a snake. Even in that, he said, that needs me. I don't need it.
Right.
That we have established. The snake needs me. I don't need the snake. The rope is talking. So the Brahman is saying, I don't need the world. The world is dependent on me. Why? In the fifth mantra, he is saying, I am the substratum of it. And here in the fifth verse, he is further going ahead and saying, I don't exist in them because that doesn't exist at all. If somebody calls you and says, hey, were you in Chennai yesterday? I thought I saw you in the station there. Was it you? Question doesn't arise. How do you say so? When I was not in Chennai, I was in Hyderabad yesterday. If you have any doubt, you check with my family. I was here at home. I'm not concocting, I'm not imagining. I was not in Chennai, I was in Hyderabad. The question of not apprehending and misapprehending cannot arise because I didn't exist there. If I existed there, there's a possibility of not understanding me. You don't exist. It's like imagine today there was no satsang at all. If there was no satsang, what is possible? If the satsang has not happened, it is possible either two things. Either you understand me or don't understand me. Isn't it? The possibility of misunderstanding doesn't arise because I didn't speak at all. I didn't exist. The satsang, the class did not happen. So the question of not understanding and misunderstanding doesn't come. So only when it exists, there's a possibility of not understanding, misunderstanding. He says, I only exist. Nothing else, everything else is illusion. He's dismissing it.
Is the satsang also an illusion?
For now, it's reality. He's saying satsang also is illusion. I said, don't. That's why I said, till now what happened is illusion. Now it's reality. I knew this was going to come. That's the reason I already said that. You get it, sir? No, he's only trying. It's just, we should not, sir, end of the day, we should not get caught up in the language or the words. Because what we must understand is the theorem. This language of contradiction is only to make us think and confuse. Ultimately, to help us understand the concept. The concept is Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. This is the the theorem you got to have in mind. Brahman alone is real. The world is an illusion. So until you experience it, you got to have utmost faith and trust in these Vedic declarations of these masters. You may have no experience of it, but at least keep marching forward with the faith that there is truth in it, that Brahman alone is the reality, the world is illusion. So as far as possible, it is your sadhana and my sadhana. Nothing in the happening world you should not be swept away by it. You should not get carried away with whatever that's happening in the world, whether be it good or whether be it bad, whether be it's favorable or unfavorable. Let me at least start looking at it by saying, I don't want to give it all that reality that it deserves. Remember, there are three standpoints. There are three standpoints in the philosophy. What are the three standpoints? The three standpoints is absolute reality, relative reality, no reality. And it's always a good checklist to have in our own mind. Is it an absolute reality, relative reality, no reality? What the masters are saying is the world has no reality, no independent standing of its own. It doesn't exist by itself. The dream doesn't exist if the mind doesn't support it. The world doesn't exist if the Brahman doesn't support it. So what existence has it got? No substance, isn't it? So there is no reality in the world. Now, what are we doing to it? Where are we standing? We are giving a world which is no real. We are giving it an absolute reality. A world which doesn't deserve any recognition, which doesn't have any substance, we are giving it a crowned recognition. Somebody passerby has said something to you and you are reacting to it and you are getting frothing and fuming and your blood pressure goes up and you get into a street fight, a brawl, a fist fight, and you get hospitalized because somebody passerby says something to you. And is it all worth it? Why should you take that to the heart and take to heart anybody says anything? There may be absolute no pith and substance to what is it, but still I make it an absolute reality. So what should be our approach to life? Make it a relative reality. It's there, but make it if you give it an absolute reality, you're carried away. Give it a relative reality. And then comes a point where you will say no reality. See, always has to be a stepping stone. You can't jump. You can't take a leap. You got to, from where we are absolute, come to relative, then you come to a point of no reality. And that is what this fifth verse is saying. There is no reality because it doesn't exist. But there is a divine union, the divine yoga. I am the substratum, but you will not understand it from the point of substratum. He spells it out, no? I am the person, I am the thing that's supporting everything. Bhuta bhrunna cha bhutastha. Mahatma bhuta bhavana. Okay? Aparagaru. You had something, sir?
So when we are talking about the rope and snake example, it is explaining only part of only the purpose. That is, the whole world is illusion. The other example which I have taken, that waves are dependent on ocean, the ocean is not dependent on waves. So these two examples I have to take concurrently so that I can understand the whole manifestation. Basically, rope is independent from snake and snake is independent from rope. But we have an illusion that rope.
No, the snake is not independent of the rope. Snake cannot exist without the rope, my dear.
How is it? Okay. Rope and snake are both independent.
No. I put a rope and a snake separately and independent. I'm not talking about that. No. The snake which has come out of the rope has no independent existence by its own. Where does the snake exist? In your own mind. Correct. It is in your mind, isn't it?
So this whole world is an illusion for us.
Correct.
Just like what we are thinking that, that whatever the illusion we have that the rope is straight, this whole world is an illusion for us. It's not reality. That's what I'm.
Correct. Correct.
That is explaining only part of it, part of this,
The concept. Okay.
But here, what Bhagwan is saying that, everything is inside me and everything depends on me, but I don't exist in anything. He said, I am not. I don't require you to exist in me. I am independent.
Which is like, take the same example of the rope. The rope is saying, I don't need the snake for my existence. The rope is saying, I don't need the snake. I don't exist in the snake. Same example, stretch it there as well.
The rope and snake are basically it is explaining the illusionary concept of this Brahman or of this world.
Okay.
But the way example, like Dhatu Tamama. So you are supported by me, but I am not supported by you. So that is explaining the wave and ocean concept. That's what I am thinking.
Sir, if you can get the message from the wave and the ocean, take it. But if you stretch it, it also can be drawn a parallel to the rope and the snake. The rope doesn't exist in the snake. The rope is not dependent on the snake. The snake has emerged out of the rope. The rope is a substratum of the snake. Rope is the reality, the snake illusion. Draw the same parallels to the wave and the ocean as well. The waves need the ocean doesn't need the waves.
That is very, it's very easy to understand. The waves are dependent on ocean. Similarly, we are dependent on Brahman. And Brahman is not dependent on us. Because just like ocean is not dependent.
So they are all examples only to convey the point. As long as you get the point from wherever you can get it and hold on to it. And hold on to it, implement it. Tomorrow Vasantama is saying something to you, say it is snake. Even if his snake is hissing, say it is a illusory snake that is hissing. It is stinging also. It is only illusory poison that is going into me. Vasantama? Huh? You are in the dream, correct. Vasantama is in the dream and the poison is illusory. I tell you, what more you want? You are all in Amrut. You are in Anandamaya Kosha. In hell, in heavenly state, you all are in bliss. Anandamaya.
The problem is, when you see a snake and assume it to be a rope.
That's what we are doing, no? Now, sir, what we are doing is exactly that. Now we are given a reality to something which is not real, and something which is real has become illusory. Did we not make this point when we did the earlier verse? We said Brahman is like an unmanifest form, like butter in milk. Why is it unmanifest form? I use these exact words, in fact, if you remember. We said, Sanjay, do you remember the last week? Brahman is in the unmanifest form, like butter in milk. So I need to only unmute. 1 minute. So I'm given a system which I'm not familiar with. This is Gayatri Ma system. Gayatri Ma is in bliss today. Where are you, Sanjay? You're not to be seen to be. Okay. There, you can go now.
Carry on. I do recall the example. I probably can't recall every step of it about the milk and the curd and the cream.
No, don't have to remember the cream.
Oh.
I know all Britishers like your butter and cream. I understand.
Yeah.
No, I know you got to the cream. I'm saying that Brahman exists in the world, in the Atma Bodha we referred. Brahman exists in the world just like butter pervades milk in the unmanifest form. That was the example and then we drew the parallel of various aspects. But why is Brahman in unmanifest form? To that we said a rejoinder. We gave a statement and we said the Brahman is unmanifest form because the world is manifest for you. To one, Brahman is manifested. For them, the world is unmanifest. It doesn't exist. You get it? So it's one imposing on the other. If you turn it the other way around, this is hidden. The unmanifest becomes the seen and unseen. So that which has no reality, we are giving it a reality. That which ought to get recognition, we are dismissing it as illusion. That is the Maya, that is the avidya we are caught up in. That's the reason, in fact, in the very first mantra, he says, no, I am giving this knowledge to you because you don't cavil at me, you don't belittle me, you are devoted and you surrender and you value my advice. I know you take this knowledge very dearly. I know you will implement it. You will take it to seriously. That's why I'm giving this secret to you. Fellow who has no value for this knowledge, he will only belittle it, isn't it? He will scoff at these teachings and you'll dismiss it away. Isn't it? Okay. Okay, Sanjay? Right. So let's move on. We'll take the 6th verse. Yatha kashasthito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matsthani tyupadharaya yatha kashasthito nityam yu sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matsthani tyupadharaya. As the mighty wind moving everywhere always rests in space, even so know that all beings rest in me. As the mighty wind, Vayu Sarvatra Mahan, the mighty wind ever rests in Akasha Sthitaha. Sthitaha is resting, Akasha in space. Likewise, all beings rest in me. Upadharaya. Please know that. Please understand that everything is like the wind, the mighty wind resting in space. So the 5 elements, what are the 5 elements? Space, air, fire, water, earth. Space is the subtlest of all elements. So everything is housed in space. The thumb rule or the principle is, it is subtle that controls the gross, it's subtle that influences the gross. The gross cannot influence subtle. So what's the gross here? Asintama, what's the gross here in the verse? What's slow? Wind and air. Air and wind is the gross. The gross cannot influence subtle. What subtle, sir? Space. So there, let's say, imagine there's a huge hurricane, there's a huge storm. Can anything survive in a huge storm that's hitting a seashore? The mighty winds, let's say, traveling at 300, 400 kilometers an hour. You know, for half an hour, the storm comes. The entire city or that seashore is completely devastated, torn apart, ripped into pieces. But has it affected the space? That's why he qualifies it, the mighty wind, Mahan. Vayu Mahan. Even the mightiest of storm, which is created in space, exists in space, cause all the havoc in space, dies into space, has no effect on space. No effect at all. Why? The principle, the gross cannot influence the subtle. Subtle houses the gross. So the space, being the subtlest of all, houses all other elements. The wind is grosser than space, so it houses it. Air, wind, it houses it. Similarly, Brahman is the substratum, the base. Brahman is not contaminated by all the beings and all their actions. So always we make this mistake of looking at Brahman as a third party. We look at Brahman as an element other than ourselves. Never ever we look at it in the Upanishad, the Kaivalya Upanishad we're learning is Tat Swamasi, that thou art, you are that truth. So if we were to say, if we were to replace the word Brahman with what? I, the real me. Everything that's happening in and around me should not affect me, which is the Atman, the Brahman, the reality, that me. It's not Brahman. Oh, Brahman is not affected. That's okay. Where's Brahman? In the mountains, in the meadows, in the brooks, in the valleys, is there everywhere. Oh, don't look at Brahman as something outward. But if I were to say that Brahman am I, what does it mean? That nothing, the mightiest of storm also, as it doesn't affect the space, the greatest of turmoil in my life should not rock me. I am rock-seated, kutastha. Why? Because that is my very nature. My very nature is Brahman, which remains unaffected. Nothing can affect it. Why? It can't affect Pushpama. Exactly like why can't wind affect space? Why can't wind influence space? What's the theorem we said? It is subtler than the air. Space is subtler, therefore it cannot affect. Use the same principle. Nothing in the world should affect you, will affect you. Should affect you. It can be the greatest of loss. Like the mightiest of storm is just not a passing breeze, man. The mightiest of storm doesn't affect space. The greatest of loss which you can ever conceive in your life, the greatest tragedy, the mightiest of sorrows which you have ever experienced, you may not have experienced, yet to experience. He says it cannot affect you. Why cannot affect you? Because the Brahman, the art, is too pure, too subtle to be affected by the gross happenings. Anything that's happening in the mundane world cannot affect the Brahman. And who is Brahman? Aham Brahmasmi, I am that. So the moment you switch your attention to that thought and say, I am that, believe me, there is nothing that can affect you, will not affect you, should not affect you. But if you are affected, why are you affected? Which we all are affected. In degree, in proportion, we all are affected by anything that happens around. It's like a sponge, we keep absorbing everything. Good happens, we absorb. Bad happens, we absorb. Something indifferent also we absorb. Why are you absorbing? So if you are affected, why are you affected? But putting that concept behind of the absolute reality, here, that's another independent concept. But why are you affected by anything happening? Sorry, ma? We don't have that wisdom or the knowledge of what I am. So what do you are assuming yourself to be other than what you are. So why you are affected is because of your identification with the world. In fact, it is your wrong identification. Unnecessary identification. Nothing to do, you go by identifying. Nothing to do. Yeah, something better to do, you worthwhile to do, you will not waste your time in the worldly affairs. A man which is driven with a purpose will not waste his time in frivolous activities. If you have no purpose, you will have time for every frivolous activity. Everything will matter to you, everything will interest you. Why? Nothing else to do. You have so much time to sit and watch serial whole day, so much time to read the newspaper whole day, so much time to see gossip whole day. You have so much time to catch with what's happening in the world outside. Why? You have no purpose in life. You have a purpose in life. Believe me, you'll have no time for yourself. Forget others. Frivolous ways. Wow, how does it matter? Why are you getting involved? Wrong identification. Waste. So the Atman in you is pure and immaculate like the space. So the beauty of how do we conduct this principle is be wherever you are, do whatever you have to, but be like space. House everything. The most foul smell, does it stain space? The most pleasant fragrance, does it condition space? See, at least we may be far from it, but there is no harm in entertaining that thought and thinking in that direction. This is the path forward. This must be the way forward. It's like I have to bore through the mountain. I am at the starting point, but there's no other way but to go through the mountain. You know, you find these huge tunnels that they have bored. You know, it could be the the Euro tunnel. You know, you go under the sea, you go under the mountains. How did they make it happen? They said, if I have to get to the other side, this is the only way. I'll have to go through the ocean bed. I'll go through the ocean bed. I have to go through the mountain. I'll go through the mountain. You may say, oh, it's a very demanding task, but there's no other way out. There's only route forward. I'll plow through it. I have to plow through it. I have to go through it. So the only way out to get ourselves out of this mess that we have, spiritual mess we have created, is what? Not to identify. Unnecessary identification, the wrong identification causes the problem. Otherwise, if you identify with the self, see, remember the example we give? You remember the example we often give here? We give the example of good Sundar? Example of identification and not getting affected. The example we take of the metal piece, the wooden piece, and the magnet. 3 things, simple example. Often you can remind yourself of the idea. Jai Shri Ma. 3 things. There is the powerful magnet, and there is the metal piece and the wooden piece. Okay. Now, in the example, what is the magnet? The magnet is the world, a very powerful magnet. Okay?
It will attract the iron piece.
It will attract the
iron piece.
What is the iron piece? Iron piece is the individual. The BMI. Okay. And the wooden piece is the the Atman, the self.
Okay.
So I tie up the wooden piece and the
magnet. It won't.
piece. The wooden piece and the metal piece I tie up and I bring the combination to the magnet. What will happen? The magnet is
It
so
will attract only
the combination. Now, when this combination is attracted to the magnet, an ignorant person also thinks that the wooden piece also is influenced by the magnet. He thinks, he doesn't know that the magnet has no influence on a wooden piece, but he believes because of its attraction, because of identification with the magnet, he thinks the magnet has influenced the wooden piece as well. But a knowledgeable person knows,
it won't attract.
Even though it is drawn to it, it is not affected by it.
Yes.
The world, the powerful world is the powerful, huge magnet. Now the world only affects your individuality. It only affects your body, mind, and intellect. It only affects you. It does not affect the self. Just like the magnet does not affect the wooden piece, it only affects the metal piece. Now you choose to identify either with the metal piece or choose to identify with the wooden piece. Choice is yours.
Yes, it should be wooden piece.
Choice we have, isn't it, Jayashrima?
Yes, yes,
We
yes.
have a choice. Huh?
Yes.
You can be the wooden piece or the metal piece.
If we are the wooden piece, then we will be in peace.
You will be in peace, correct. We will be in super peace.
Yes.
Means anything that's happening around
Will not affect
you.
Yes.
Should not affect, cannot affect.
Yes.
So, therefore, we go down to the law that defines you. Harishji, what is that law that defines you? Wonderful, Jayashrima. What is that law that defines you, Harishji? No help from the wife. Finite or motte kodungo. Gayatrima, chance vandadhu kodungo. Inge friend kodungo. Friend RM is supporting Hejje. How can it support? What is the principle that defines you, sir? Defines anybody for that matter. I spoke about it once upon a time. Now I'm asking, what is the principle that defines you?
I am not just limited to this.
So you follow the example of the magnet.
Yes.
Then I said you have a choice either with the wooden piece or the metal piece.
Yes.
So you become the wooden piece, you remain unaffected. You become the metal piece, you are affected by everything that happens around you, right? Now, when we say you have a choice to be either of, what determines what you become?
My choice to attach to the wood.
Yes, what is it that defines you? What is that law that defines you? It's just not the choice. Thereafter, you have to put in a lot of effort. What is it that defines you? Who you become? Now we have become, sadly so, we have become the iron piece. We have become the metal piece. So we are vulnerable to everything that's happening around in the world. Now we can't, but we complain and break our head and froth and fume, but still the result is unaffected by the world. Good or bad. So these Shastras are telling us, why don't you become it's a wrong identification, man. Don't blame the world. That is the nature of the magnet. Why are you blaming the magnet? You don't become the metal piece. That's all they're saying. Wrong identification. Here we are saying you have the choice to identify. Switch your identification. So the question is, what is the law of identification, sir?
What you identify with, you become.
The law of attachment is whatever you think, so you become. Now the question you got to ask yourself, what are you worshipping? Day in and day out, where are your thoughts? Where are your investments? You will invariably reap the fruits of your investments. If only you withdraw from the world and invest your time into this higher wisdom, you will be insulated by the happenings of the world, because you have become the self, and the self is insulated, is not affected by the world, just like the wooden piece remains unaffected by even a huge magnet doesn't influence the wooden piece. And to go one step further, they say, you are not the body, mind, intellect. You are the self. They're saying you are not that, you're this, and you're wrongly identifying yourself to be that and not this. You're imagining yourself to be something else. So we have to dehypnotize ourselves to what we think we are and hypnotize ourselves to something else. So that dehypnotization process has to kick in, negation, and assert ourselves to something else. This is what they're saying. And if you do that, you will remain like space that contains all that happens, but yet remain undisturbed. Not that he's saying you walk away from the world. You will absorb everything. You will be in everything, but you'll be like space. The mightiest of winds rests in space, doesn't affect space. A beautiful example. You can draw a lot out of it. Not just understand it, but we also know how to get to it, how to reach that state. Wrong identity. No, but where is it that you're lost? It's all in the identification, we are saying. Sorry, sir. Please.
Since let's say we have two options. Okay. One option is that we become the Buddha, which means that we identify ourselves become the Brahman, we become the Buddha. So we are not affected, we are not attracted to the world at all. But the fact is that there is a BMI with all of us, right? I mean, physically, we are leading a life. So is it more appropriate that you make a combination of the metal and the wood? You go to the world, but the wood piece, you remain the wood piece, you are not affected by the world. In the sense that you develop that detachment, that you have to perform all your obligatory duties which are around you in the world, but you are not affected, you are not attached, you are not affected by others. Is that a practical approach, or because I was thinking that how do you become complete good? I mean that is ultimate state. I mean you may become, but 95% of the people are still going through the process. In the process, then is that example of the two together getting attracted and the good becoming not influenced by the magnet. Is that a practical practice that one has?
Could you all capture what Ramji was asking? Harish, could you hear? Okay, no. What Ramji is asking is it possible to mix wood and metal piece? And I am telling him I'm not a scientific person. I'm not an engineer to see whether it's possible to mix or that. That's my answer, sir. Because wood is wood, metal is metal. They have two different characteristics, two different aspects. So I can understand what Ramji is asking is, how do I practically apply this principle? Is it not that we all need to go out into the world? We all need to run our homes, do duties, perform obligations, do what is demanded of us at the need of the hour, we need to be there. So how do I remain like the wooden piece? So this knowledge is meant to be in the marketplace, not meant to be confined to ashrams or not meant for people who sit at their desks, not is meant for people who are wanting to contain it within themselves. It's not meant for that. It's like a scientist who spends time in the laboratory, inventing, discovering, finding out the various hidden truths which can be a blessing to humanity. All that time that they spend in that discovery and creation is meant for benefit of mankind. Like when we all were hit by COVID, the entire medical industry, the pharma industry went on an overdrive to find a drug to just get ourselves immune. Whether it works or not, at least we should get immune to a large extent. Longevity, we do not know. Time will give us a solution, but they all had to do. Where would they do? They didn't do it in the marketplace. They did it in the laboratory research. So the more you spend time there, the more you will be relevant out there. The less you spend time here, the more you'll have a lasting presence in the world out there. The real ruggedness, sir, is like a ship that is strongly built, will stand the test of the rough waters for longer duration. If it is not built strong, the sheer onslaught of the waves you succumb, it will sink. A matter of time. But these huge containers, they're designed to last the waters. But it takes that longer to build that strong ship. If it has to last for a decade or two in the rough seas, it needs to go through that kind of an overhaul, that kind of a work, that kind of quality, that kind of investment. You need to do that. Now, if I have to stand the test of long undulations of what life puts me through the rest of my life, how much wisdom you think you need, sir? Oh, I need substantial wisdom. So what do? That's the reason the early days, this was given in the Gurukul in the younger days, so that by the time you're 16, 17, you're well fortified to face all what life can throw at you. By the time 16, 17, you had everything, you just said, get out and live your life. And you knew how to handle your wife, how to handle your children, how to handle your boss, how to he said, He instantly reacted, Ushama, where are you? We need your clarification and participation here. The moment they said how to handle your wife, his reaction changed, Ushama. I want to have a conversation with you. UK.
Namaste, Guruji.
1 minute. Can you please talk to Ramji?
I don't want to talk.
You don't want to talk. Okay, then the direction changes immediately. So you see where this knowledge is. It's a knowledge not devotes to life. It's a knowledge of life and living. It's not we don't say Vedanta is a knowledge devotes to life. Vedanta is a knowledge life and living. It's not meant for that 0.1% of those who put a robe and sit in confinement. It meant for 99.9 people who are in the din and roar of the marketplace. Not for that 0.1% who are aloof. Everything is provided for and said, do sadhana. It's not meant for them. Then it has more. Medicine, 99% people are having adverse reaction. You think the pharma industry will market it and push it to the market? Instantly they say, withdraw, withdraw, withdraw. Because it is having adverse effects. Life-threatening drug. Something we thought something is not right. It is not having favorable results. We have to withdraw from the market. They'll withdraw. If this knowledge is not relevant to a practical application of everybody, it is not eternal principles. It is not applicable to every walk of life. It is only meant for a selected few. It is not select few operation. It is meant for one and all. So the relevance of it is very much there. Now, how do you reach it to them? How do you apply it? It's a methodology. It's a process. But the more I have invested in myself, as they say, sir, I'm reminded of a beautiful analogy. You would know as agriculturists, the deeper the roots go, the higher the tree should. Isn't it? If the bonsai, this bonsai plants, the roots are periodically trimmed so the tree doesn't shoot up. It just miniaturized, they remain. Why? You are consciously trimming the roots. So how deep have you gone into the woods, the inner woods of your own self? For that, once in a while, you must get away from the din and roar and get into the woods also. It helps. But the deeper you go within, the taller you grow outward. You have a tall stature, you know. So I don't think we need to mix the wood and the metal. The analogy has a message, but the only rationale we can give it is the more you are established in this wisdom, the less you remain affected by the world while you continue to maintain yourself in action. The question is, how much proportion? It's like we also say, we take an example of the ships. Even the ships which go into the waters, they go through dry docking. The dry docking is the process where they get off the waters and they are treated so that they are again ready for the waters, the long haul. Like every aircraft, after it comes for after ride, it goes through a thorough checkup. So it's ready again for a haul. So we need to withdraw as frequently as you can, to withdraw into inner self and build the capacity that you don't get rocked by the world. If we don't do that, then you're going through the roller coaster. It's a roller coaster ride in life. So it is only going in so that you go back out into the world. Means to do, one should not remain a life of, you don't become senile. Spiritual life is not to become senile, please. It is not becoming senile. It's very, you play any relevant role at whatever stage you will play in your life. Yeah, you remain in action. Yeah, Gayatri.
Same example in one of the classes yesterday, like you tie the wood and the iron piece, and the iron piece, if it is facing the magnet, it attracts faster. But when you place the wooden piece to the magnet, it doesn't attract. That is what the earlier extension you are doing is. They tie the wood and the iron piece.
The combination.
The magnet is more important. If you place the iron piece, that attracts very fast. If you place the wooden piece to the magnet, it doesn't attract.
In the sense, how much of wisdom is insulating you from the world? That's all it means. If you are well insulated, the world, it doesn't affect the metal piece. Isn't it? That's the message, right? Yes, sir? Hariji?
She said exactly what I wanted to say. Question. And, you had gone much deeper into this subject. The very layman explanation was just this. When you just combine the wood and the iron, and you regard yourself as different from the wood, separate from the wood, then you would continue to be attracted. But only when you become a part of the wood would you not be attracted. That means, and this is again, many times you have talked, when you devote yourself to a higher cause, therefore you are enveloped by that higher cause, then you are insulated from
the happenings.
So you continue to do your work. So the only way is to do what is called samarpana and continue to do work. So, I mean, which is extreme. If the magnet was to be, the metal piece was to become part of the wood or get enveloped by the wood, then it would not be. You would still continue to live in the world. That was all.
Yes, sir. No. You have
much lower level.
No, nothing lower or higher. I think we will. Yes, Sanjay.
How about, I just want to share a thought, if possible.
Yeah, please.
So, I don't know if the same is in India, but here in the West, there's a big thing at the moment with identity politics. And
we call identity politics.
Yeah, like the idea of gender and not identifying as he or she or male or female. It's a big thing. And what we just spoke about, the magnet, the wooden piece and the steel piece, it feels like there is a realization that at the moment, what we're doing, we're just playing with the steel piece. We're just saying, I am not this, I am not that, because being defined as this doesn't make me comfortable. It almost feels like this is an extension of that, and saying what we need to do is entirely drop the idea that our identity is defined by the steel piece at all. We have to just say, I am the Atman. And only when we realize that will we feel some kind of happiness.
So you all in UK, you're going to get rid of identity and call yourself Atman?
Well, no, but what I'm saying is it feels like there is already a growing...
implementing it. Then we'll follow.
There's a rumbling, right? There's a rumbling of this idea of these old divisions based on bodily things. Doesn't really work. It doesn't really... They're forced.
No,
so
at the end of the day, you have to be factual as what you are. You're a male or a female, whether you are what you are by profession, which nation you reside, what is your religion. Perhaps these are all factual descriptions now, but you don't have to become fanatic to a religion or a clan or a particular gender or a country or a region or a black or a white or a yellow. How does it matter? So going beyond those differences, and as we keep saying, to see the substratum, which is a Brahman, that is the reality. But in terms of, I don't know what is identity politics. No, this is the first time I'm hearing. I am far from politics, so I don't know what it is. But unless there's anything that's happening here in India.
On the lighter note, in the UK, they are now strengthened by process.
You heard what Harishji said?
No.
He said, on a serious note, well, you connect with Harishji, he will update you something further to what's happening in UK.
No, but the essence of it is, just for your information, it's moving towards an idea of no longer being identified by what you are in terms of your physical things, but what you identify as. So it is now acceptable for someone who has male physical attributes to just say, no, I define myself as a female because that's how I feel that I am. And that's becoming a way of being, an acceptable way of being.
I'll think twice before considering to visit UK. Yeah, I'm a little concerned now. Okay? No, I've got into identity crisis now. No, all I will request is please think straight. Why you have to think crooked? What is a matter of fact, be that. You're born in a particular way because you have asked, why do I want to go and change my physique or physicality? Something wrong with your psychology. I am what I am.
Agreed.
As again, it becomes a meaningless exercise going into all that.
Yeah.
What Vedanta says is you got to make faithful use of what you have, than desiring something you do not have. I can sit and complain that I don't have many things in life, but am I making good use of what I have? Am I being thankful for what is provided with? Rather than saying, I want to be that, I am not this, and I want to get to that. It's all, you're talking in a realm which doesn't help you grow. I don't grow if I think that way. Providence has provided you with what you needed, and that is best for your evolution. If you have a certain challenges, you need that at this stage of your life to go to the next level. Don't complain. If it didn't come for you to grow, it would not be there in your life. So it's your thought process that you use everything as a stepping stone and grow out of it, than complaining, why have I got a physique like this? Why am I born into the country like this? Why am I? Where am I? How am I? No, why do you it's all unnecessary. It's a thought which lacks direction gets into all these things. It dissipates, waste of energy. You know, complicating life. That's what I mean. Thinking crooked is complicating life. Yes, sir.
No, in fact, the whole class has been talking of, don't say I am this, I am not this. And instead say I am him, which means that I am much more than just this. And that is exactly what he's saying by not having identity.
I don't know in what context he's saying, but it's slightly different context. Okay. Ashama is saying you have to continuously keep chipping away the rust so the iron structure lasts longer. The dry docking also of the ship is the same exercise of chipping away the unnecessary. It's a process. Yes, ma. Beautiful. So we had some technical issues because we had some other technicians coming and working, and that disrupted the existing system. So we'll try to get that remanage again. Gayatri ma, please get them and get it sorted out. I think it should be a minor hiccup, but however, we have managed to do justice to the text. So if there are any hiccups, I think you will get hold of the recordings anyway, you know. Right. Okay. We'll come back. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om.